The giant crystal building on Nexus Prime glowed with soft blue light as representatives from 12 different alien species gathered for their monthly meeting. The building was so tall that clouds formed around its middle sections, and so wide that small aircraft could fly through its lower halls. Inside the main chamber, beings that looked nothing like each other sat in chairs designed for their strange bodies. Elder Kethfer moved slowly toward the center of the room. His body looked like a tree made of silver metal with long tentacles, instead of branches. These tentacles shook as he walked, making soft clicking sounds on the crystal floor. The other aliens turned to watch him, some with dozens of eyes, others with no eyes at all. Kethfer was old, older than some of the planets represented in this room. His species, the Seraphim, could see things that had not happened yet. The chamber fell quiet as Kethfer reached the speaking platform. His voice came through machines that changed his words into sounds and thoughts that all the different species could understand. "I have seen the future again," he said, his tentacles trembling more than usual. "The visions come every night now. There is a species on the third planet of the Sol system. They will bring darkness to our galaxy. I have seen our worlds covered in shadow, felt the silence where once there were millions of voices." High Commander Zelther of the Dominax species stood up quickly. He was twice as tall as a human would be, with 4 powerful arms and skin that looked like dark metal. His species had conquered more worlds than any other in the galaxy. "These humans?" Zelther laughed, a sound like metal grinding against metal. "Elder, your mind grows weak with age. These creatures barely learned to fly between planets 50 years ago. Their machines still burn chemicals to move through space. They are like children playing with fire." Ambassador Klin of the Mercanty Federation made sounds like a bird singing mixed with metal bells ringing. "The translation machines turned this into words. Our trade scouts have watched them for decades. They fight wars over black liquid. They pump from their ground. They cannot even agree on how to divide their one small planet. How could such beings threaten us?" Dr. Vixara of the Synthery Collective raised one of her 6 arms. Half of her body was made of living flesh, the other half was advanced machines. "I have studied their biology and technology extensively. They live only 100 of their years at most. They cannot survive in space without artificial air. Their fastest ships would take thousands of years to reach even their closest star neighbors. They are no threat to anyone but themselves." More laughter filled the chamber. The representative from the aquatic depth swimmers made bubbling sounds that translated to amusement. The hive mind of the swarm collective sent thought patterns that felt like gentle mocking through the mental links. Even the peaceful plant-like gardener species rustled their leaves in what served as their version of laughter. Kethfer raised his tentacles for quiet, but his voice carried sadness now. "You see their current limitations and think you understand their future. But I have witnessed what they become when they are threatened. Their fury burns hotter than the cores of stars. The darkness I see is not empty space. It is the shadow. Of their ships, so many that they block out the light of entire solar systems?" "Impossible," declared war leader Nexus of the machine race called the Iron Collective. His body was made entirely of metal and wires, and his voice sounded like computers talking. "We have calculated their technological progression. At their current rate of advancement, they will destroy themselves within 300 of their years. Resource depletion, environmental collapse, or nuclear war, the mathematics are clear." Commander Veltar of the crystal-based Prism species spoke in flashes of colored light that the machines changed into words. "Even if they survived their own primitive nature, what could they possibly create that we have not already perfected? We have traveled between stars for thousands of years. We have weapons that can crack planets and shields that can stop the energy of suns. What could a species that still uses metal projectiles as weapons do against us?" The debate continued for hours. Each species presented evidence of human limitations, their primitive technology, their divided nature, their short lifespans, their biological weaknesses. The void hunters who lived in the cold spaces between stars pointed out that humans could not even survive in vacuum without bulky suits. The energy dancers, beings made of pure plasma, noted that humans were bound to solid matter and could never achieve true transcendence. Kethver listened to all of this with growing despair. "You measure them by your own standards?" he said finally. "You think that because they lack your specific advantages, they are weak. But they have something none of us possess in the same measure. They adapt. They learn. They take what others create and make it better. And most dangerous of all, when they are pushed to the edge of extinction, they do not surrender. They fight with a creativity and determination that will surprise you all." "Elder," said Ambassador Klin in a patronizing tone, "perhaps these visions are symbolic rather than literal. Perhaps the darkness represents ignorance and the light represents knowledge. Maybe you are seeing us teaching them, bringing them into galactic civilization as junior partners. Or perhaps," suggested Dr. Vexara, "the visions represent their inevitable self-destruction, and the darkness is the empty space where their planet once was." The Council voted to dismiss Kethver's warning. 12 species voted against taking any special precautions regarding humans. Only the Seraphim voted in favor of treating Earth as a potential threat. As the meeting ended and the various aliens departed for their homeworlds, Kethver remained in the crystal chamber. He extended his consciousness across space, touching the edges of human awareness millions of light years away. On Earth, he felt the minds of billions of humans going about their daily lives, unaware that they were being discussed by galactic powers, but in some of those minds Kethver sensed something that chilled his ancient spirit. In military bases and research laboratories, in universities and government buildings, humans were already working on technologies that their visitors from space had not shared with the galactic community. They were preparing for possibilities that the galaxy had not considered. On Earth, Captain Jake Morrison finished reading the morning intelligence reports in his office at the International Space Defense Initiative. The facility was hidden deep in the Rocky Mountains, one of dozens of similar bases around the planet. At 42 years old, Jake had spent his entire adult life preparing for the day when humanity might not be alone in the universe. Dr. Lisa Hayes knocked on his door and entered without waiting for permission. She was one of the world's leading experts in xenobiology, despite never having met an actual alien. "Jake, we're detecting more of those energy signatures at the edge of the solar system. Whatever they are, they're definitely watching us." Jake looked up from his reports, which contained information that would have surprised the Galactic Council. Secret projects, hidden research, technologies being developed away from prying eyes, both terrestrial and otherwise. "How long have they been out there now?" 3 months since we first detected them. They maintain perfect distance, always just beyond our ability to get a clear scan, but close enough that we know they're artificial. Any aggressive moves? None. But Jake, these aren't random observations. They're conducting systematic surveillance of our military installations, our space programs, our communication networks. Someone is preparing a very detailed file on human capabilities. Jake stood and walked to the window that showed the mountain landscape outside. Somewhere beyond Earth's atmosphere, alien eyes were watching, measuring, judging. The question was whether they saw humanity as a curiosity, a resource, or a threat. "Let them watch," Jake said finally. "But make sure our people know that we're watching back. And Lisa, accelerate the timeline on Projects Defiance and Dark Sky. I have a feeling we're going to need them sooner than we planned." Dr. Hayes nodded and left to relay the orders. Jake remained at the window, wondering if the aliens out there realized that humans had been preparing for this moment for decades. The galaxy might see Earth as a primitive world, but humanity had learned long ago that being underestimated was often the greatest advantage of all. 3 months after the Galactic Council dismissed Elder Kethver's warning, Ambassador Klin decided to visit Earth personally. The Mercanti Federation specialized in trade across the galaxy, and Klin saw an opportunity to establish a profitable relationship with the humans before other species realized their potential value. His ship, the Golden Current, was designed to impress primitive species with its beauty and obvious technological superiority. The vessel descended through Earth's atmosphere on a Tuesday morning, its living metal hull shifting from silver to gold as it caught the sunlight. The ship was roughly the size of 10 city blocks, elegant and flowing like a piece of art rather than a machine. It settled gently onto the designated landing area outside the United Nations building in Geneva, Switzerland, its landing creating no sound or disturbance to the surrounding area. President Helen Carter stood in the main assembly hall with her advisors, watching through the massive windows as the alien ship powered down. She was 55 years old, a former senator who had been briefed on the possibility of first contact for the past 2 years. Beside her stood General Ryan Brooks, a career military officer whose job was to protect humanity from threats both terrestrial and otherwise. Dr. Kevin Martinez, the newly appointed Director of Extraterrestrial Affairs, checked his tablet one final time. He was a theoretical physicist from MIT who had spent the last decade studying the energy signatures detected at the edge of the solar system. Madam President, all our sensors confirm that this is definitely the same technology we've been tracking. Whoever these beings are, they represent the civilization that's been watching us. A ramp extended from the alien ship, and Ambassador Klin emerged in an environmental suit designed to protect his slug-like body from Earth's atmosphere. The suit was transparent, allowing the human delegation to see his true form. He was roughly the size of a large human, but his body was soft and flexible, with multiple tentacles for manipulating objects and a head that seemed too large for his body. The translation device attached to his suit spoke in clear English, though the tone was distinctly condescending. "Greetings, primitive inhabitants of the third planet. I am Ambassador Klin of the Mercanti Federation, representing one of the 12 major powers of galactic civilization. I bring you the honor of first contact with superior beings." President Carter maintained her diplomatic composure, though several of her advisors shifted uncomfortably at the word primitive. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Klin." "I am President Carter, representing the governments of Earth. We are honored by your visit." "As you should be," Klin replied through his translator. "We of the Mercanti Federation have observed your species for some time. While you are undoubtedly primitive and limited in your understanding of the universe, we see potential for a mutually beneficial relationship." Dr. Martinez stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overriding diplomatic caution. "What kind of relationship are you proposing, Ambassador?" Kwan's translator conveyed a sense of amusement. "A simple trade agreement, naturally. Your planet possesses certain raw materials that are valuable to galactic civilization. Rare earth elements, biological specimens, perhaps some of your more interesting cultural artifacts. In exchange, we would provide you with basic technologies that might extend your species' survival by several decades." General Brooks whispered urgently to his aide, Colonel Amy Foster, "Get Director Collins from DARPA on a secure channel immediately." "Code Black protocols. What kind of technologies?" President Carter asked, maintaining her diplomatic tone while noting every detail of the aliens' equipment and behavior. "Nothing too advanced, of course," Klin replied. "Your primitive minds could not comprehend truly sophisticated systems. But we could offer simple atmospheric processors to help repair your damaged environment. Basic fusion reactors to replace your crude fossil fuel systems, perhaps even rudimentary faster-than-light communication devices, though you would need centuries of development before you could use them effectively." The human delegation exchanged glances. Dr. Martinez recognized immediately that the technologies being offered were barely beyond current human theoretical understanding. Either these aliens were being deliberately cautious, or they significantly underestimated human scientific capability. "That's very generous," President Carter replied carefully. "However, such important decisions require consultation with our scientific and political communities. We would need time to properly evaluate your proposal." Klin's translator rendered his response with obvious condescension. "Of course, primitive minds require extended deliberation periods. This is expected. We shall establish a temporary trading post in your asteroid belt and await your decision. Perhaps 10 or 20 of your solar rotations will provide sufficient time for your limited cognitive processes. After the alien delegation returned to their ship and departed, the real work began. Dr. Martinez immediately convened an emergency meeting of the world's leading scientists and engineers. The conference room in the UN building filled with experts from every major nation and research institution. Dr. Patricia Kim from the Seoul Advanced Physics Institute was the first to speak. I've analyzed the technical specifications they provided. These are not breakthrough technologies. The fusion reactor design is actually less efficient than the theoretical models we developed last year. They're treating us like children who need training wheels. Dr. Ahmed Hassan from the Cairo Institute of Technology nodded grimly. The atmospheric processors they described use principles we've understood for decades. We simply lack the manufacturing capability to build them at scale, but that's an engineering problem, not a scientific one. Dr. Nina Volkov from the Russian Academy of Sciences spread holographic displays across the table. Most concerning is what they didn't offer. No advanced materials science, no gravity manipulation, no explanation of how they're faster than light travel works. They're showing us just enough to make us dependent, not enough to make us competitive. Director Collins arrived from DARPA with a classified briefing that changed everything. We've been monitoring their ship with every sensor we have. Here's what we discovered. Their shields couldn't completely block our most advanced radar systems. Their hull materials, while impressive, show stress patterns consistent with manufacturing. Techniques only marginally beyond our current capabilities. Captain Morrison, who had been quietly observing the proceedings, finally spoke. They're not as far ahead of us as they want us to believe. This isn't a God meeting insects. This is an established civilization meeting a developing one, and they want to keep it that way. Dr. Martinez pulled up a comparison chart. Look at this carefully. Every technology they offered solves problems they assume we can't solve ourselves, but we can. We're maybe 5 to 10 years away from developing most of these systems independently. Then why offer them at all? Asked Dr. Kim. Control, General Brooks answered. If we develop the technology ourselves, we own it completely. If we accept their gifts, we become dependent on them for maintenance, upgrades, and raw materials. Classic colonization strategy. President Carter looked around the room at the assembled experts. What are our options? We could accept their offer, Dr. Hassan suggested. Get the technology now, even if it means dependence. We could refuse and continue our own development, Dr. Volkov countered. But that means falling further behind while they watch our every move, Dr. Martinez smiled dangerously. Or we could do what humans do best, we could surprise them. Over the following weeks, research facilities around the world began working on a crash program unlike anything in human history. The alien specifications weren't copied, they were used as starting points for superior human designs. If the aliens wanted to see primitive minds, humanity would show them exactly what primitive minds could accomplish when properly motivated. Dr. Kim's team in Seoul achieved the first breakthrough when they developed a fusion reactor with 40% better efficiency than the alien design. The key, she explained to the international scientific community, is that they're using old solutions to old problems. We're using new solutions to the same problems. Meanwhile, military installations around the world began construction projects that existed nowhere in official records. Underground factories in the Sahara Desert, hidden shipyards in Siberian wilderness, research facilities built into Australian mountains. If the aliens were watching Earth's surface, they would see normal human activity continuing as always, Captain Morrison, coordinated with military leaders from every major nation. The aliens expect us to either accept their offer or refuse it. They don't expect us to use it as intelligence about their capabilities and limitations. Every specification they provided tells us something about how their technology works. Dr. Martinez made the breakthrough that changed everything when he realized that human mathematical models predicted certain physical phenomena more accurately than the alien technology suggested was possible. They're not more advanced than U.S., he announced to a stunned assembly of world leaders. They're just older. Their technology has been stagnant for centuries, maybe millennia. They stopped innovating because they never met a species that forced them to. 6 months after first contact, Ambassador Klin left Earth in a state of confusion and growing alarm. His ship, the Golden Current, transmitted continuous reports back to the Mercanti Federation as it traveled through space toward the asteroid belt trading post. The technical specifications the humans had shown him were impossible according to everything galactic science understood about technological development. Yet his suit's sensors had confirmed that the energy readings were real. On Earth, the revelation that aliens viewed humanity as primitives suitable only for resource extraction had triggered something deep in the human psyche. Every major government on the planet set aside their differences and focused on a single goal, proving that being underestimated was the greatest mistake the galaxy could make. Dr. Martinez stood in the newly constructed Global Defense Coordination Center, a facility that had been built in record time beneath the Swiss Alps. The cavern was massive, carved from living rock and lined with the most advanced technology human science could produce. Holographic displays showed the status of secret projects on every continent. "Report from Seoul," announced Dr. Patricia Kim over the communication system. Her team had been working around the clock since the alien visit. "We've successfully tested the Mark III fusion reactor. Efficiency is now 70% better than the alien baseline, and we've solved the containment problems that limited earlier designs." Dr. Ahmed Hassan's voice came from Cairo. "Atmospheric processing systems are online and testing at 3 times the efficiency the aliens claimed was possible. We've also developed self-replicating manufacturing systems that can build more processors automatically." President Carter walked into the command center, followed by General Brooks and the heads of intelligence agencies from 12 different countries. "Status report, Dr. Martinez." "Madam President, the results are beyond our most optimistic projections. Every technology the aliens offered us as advanced has been not just matched but significantly improved. More importantly, we've made breakthroughs they never offered us at all." Dr. Nina Volkov appeared on the main display from a secret facility in Siberia. "The quantum tunneling drive is operational. We've achieved faster-than-light travel without requiring any of the exotic matter the aliens use. Our method is completely different from anything in their technical databases." Captain Morrison entered the command center wearing a uniform that hadn't existed 6 months earlier. As the newly appointed Director of Interstellar Defense, he coordinated military preparations across the globe. "Construction report, sir. We have 17 vessels nearing completion across multiple hidden shipyards. The designs are unlike anything the aliens have seen before. The ships being built in secret facilities around the world represented a completely different approach to space warfare than anything in the galactic databases. Human military doctrine had always emphasized redundancy, adaptability, and the ability to continue fighting even when severely damaged. These principles had been applied to spacecraft design with results that would have surprised even human engineers a year earlier. Dr. Martinez pulled up the technical specifications for the lead vessel. "The used Defiance incorporates everything we've learned about alien technology and human engineering. Modular construction means damaged sections can be jettisoned and replaced in battle. Triple redundant systems ensure that losing any single component doesn't disable the ship. And the defensive systems use principles the alien sensors can't detect." "How is that possible?" asked President Carter. "They scan for energy patterns they recognize," Captain Morrison explained. "Our shields don't use energy at all. They use controlled gravitational fields that bend space around the ship. To their sensors, we simply disappear." Meanwhile, at the asteroid belt trading post, Ambassador Klin was receiving disturbing reports from his monitoring stations. Human activity on Earth had increased dramatically, but in ways that made no sense according to galactic understanding of primitive species development. "They're building something," reported scanner technician Valquin Quinnes' aide. Massive construction projects on every continent, but our sensors can't determine what they're creating. The structures are hidden underground or shielded by materials we can't penetrate. Impossible? Klin replied, though he was beginning to hate that word. Primitive species lack the coordination and resources for planetary-scale construction projects. Ambassador, there's something else. We've detected energy signatures consistent with faster-than-light drive testing, but the patterns don't match any known galactic technology. Klin felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold of space. Alert the Galactic Council immediately. Request military support for this trading post. Back on Earth, the Crash Development Program was producing results that amazed even its creators. Dr. Lisa Hayes, now serving as Director of Xenobiology Studies, had made a discovery that changed humanity's understanding of their place in the universe. The alien biology is fascinating, she explained to the assembled scientific team. They've optimized for longevity and stability, but at the cost of adaptability. Their bodies and minds are essentially locked into patterns that haven't changed. For thousands of years. What does that mean for us? Asked Dr. Martinez. It means they can't understand rapid change because they don't experience it, Dr. Hayes replied. They measure development in centuries or millennia. The concept that a species could advance decades or centuries in a matter of months is literally incomprehensible to them. This insight led to the development of humanity's greatest advantage: the ability to innovate and adapt faster than any species the galaxy had ever encountered. While aliens spent years debating minor modifications to establish technologies, humans redesigned entire systems from scratch in weeks. Captain Lisa Chun, formerly of the United States Navy, now commanded the first completed human starship. The used Defiance looked nothing like the elegant curves of alien vessels. It was angular, brutal, and efficient, designed by minds that understood that space was hostile and war was inevitable. Final systems check, she announced from the bridge. The ship floated in a hidden dock carved from an asteroid in Earth's solar system, invisible to alien sensors and ready for its first mission. Lieutenant Commander Jake Peterson, the ship's tactical officer, reported from his station. All weapons systems operational. Defensive fields at full strength. The ship is ready for combat, Captain. Dr. Amy Rodriguez, serving as science officer, monitored the ship's experimental systems. Quantum tunneling drive is stable and ready. We can achieve faster than light speeds without the energy signatures that alien sensors are designed to detect. The bridge crew represented the best of human military and scientific talent, trained in tactics that no galactic civilization had ever encountered. They had studied alien combat techniques and developed counters for every known strategy. Captain, reported Communications Officer Danny Walsh, we're receiving a transmission from Earth Defense Command. Ambassador Klin has requested military support from something called the Dominax species. Captain Chun smiled grimly. Then I'd say our diplomacy just ended. Helm, prepare for departure. Let's go introduce ourselves to the galaxy properly. The used Defiance left its hidden dock and began accelerating toward the asteroid belt trading post. Unlike alien vessels, which followed predictable flight paths and energy signatures, the human ship seemed to vanish from sensors completely once. It engaged its stealth systems at the trading post. Ambassador Klin watched his instruments with growing terror as impossible readings appeared on his screens. Multiple contacts approaching our position, but the sensor signatures make no sense. How many ships, Ambassador? Asked scanner technician Velqueen. That's the problem. The readings suggest anywhere from 1 ship to 50 ships, depending on which sensors we trust. And they're approaching from multiple directions simultaneously. What Quen didn't understand was that he was facing human military tactics for the first time. The single ship approaching his station was using electronic warfare techniques to create false sensor images, making it appear to be an entire fleet approaching from different vectors. Incoming transmission, reported his communications officer. The view screen activated to show Captain Chun on the bridge of the UES Defiance. Ambassador Klin, this is Captain Lisa Chun of the United Earth Starship Defiance. You're in violation of Earth territorial space without proper authorization. Territorial space? Kulin sputtered. This asteroid belt is unclaimed territory according to galactic law. Not according to human law, Captain Chun replied calmly. We claim sovereignty over our entire solar system. You have 30 minutes to vacate the area or face the consequences. You cannot threaten a representative of galactic civilization. With your primitive vessel, Kulin declared, though his voice betrayed his uncertainty. Would you like a demonstration of how primitive we are? Captain Chen asked Dot without waiting for an answer. The used Defiance fired a single warning shot past the alien trading post. The weapon didn't use energy beams like galactic technology. Instead, it was a kinetic projectile accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed, striking an asteroid several kilometers away and reducing it to powder in a flash of released energy. Ambassador Klin-S sensors recorded the destruction. High Commander Zelther of the Dominax species received Ambassador Klin-S distress call while his battle fleet was conducting training exercises near the Vega system. The message was transmitted across faster-than-light communication networks and reached him within hours of the encounter at Earth's asteroid belt. Emergency military intervention requested, the message read. Human species demonstrates capabilities far exceeding initial assessments. They possess advanced starships and weapons technology. Immediate response required to maintain galactic order. Zelther read the report with a mixture of amusement and annoyance. His four massive arms gestured dismissively as he addressed his bridge crew aboard the battleship Eternal Dominance. A single primitive vessel threatens a mercanti trading post and they panic. This is why warriors should handle first contact, not merchants. War Leader Kexton, Zelther-S second-in-command, studied the tactical data from his command station. The energy readings are unusual, Commander. The humans used kinetic weapons instead of energy beams, and their ship disappeared from sensors. Using unknown technology, parlor tricks, Zelther declared. They probably salvaged some abandoned alien technology and learned to use it. 30 ships should be more than sufficient to remind them of their proper place in the galactic order. The Dominax battle fleet that departed for the Sol system was a terrifying display of galactic military might. Each ship was over a kilometer long, armed with weapons that could crack the surface of planets and protected by shields that had never been penetrated by enemy fire. The fleet had conquered 47 worlds and never lost a single engagement. What they expected to find was a small human fleet defending their homeworld, probably using reverse-engineered alien technology with crews that barely understood how to operate it. What they found instead challenged everything galactic military doctrine had taught them about space warfare. Captain Lisa Chun stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, now serving as the flagship of Operation Dark Sky. Around her, 11 other human vessels hung in space like angular predators, their stealth systems making them nearly invisible to conventional sensors. Each ship was crewed by humans who had trained their entire lives for warfare, now equipped with technology that their enemies had foolishly helped them understand. Enemy fleet detected, reported Dr. Amy Rodriguez from her science station. 30 vessels in standard Dominax formation. They're maintaining traditional spacing and approach vectors. Lieutenant Commander Jake Peterson studied the tactical display from his position. They're approaching like they expect us to meet them in conventional battle formation. They have no idea what they're facing. Captain Chun activated the fleet communication system. All ships, this is Defiance Actual. The enemy is thinking like conquerors visiting primitives. Implement Morrison Doctrine, Pattern 7. Let's show them what humans do when someone threatens our home. Across the human fleet, crews prepared for battle using tactics that had never been seen in galactic warfare. Instead of forming traditional battle lines or establishing defensive perimeters, the human ships began to operate as parts of a single organism. Some vessels stripped away non-essential systems to become pure weapon platforms. Others configured themselves as mobile shield generators, their defensive systems linked to protect the entire formation. War Leader Kexton watched the approaching battle with growing confusion. "Commander, their ships are sharing power and data across space using some form of quantum entanglement. They're operating as a single distributed entity rather than individual vessels." "Impossible," Zeltha replied, though he was beginning to hate that word as much as Ambassador Klin had. No species has ever developed that level of fleet coordination. The battle began when the human fleet simply vanished from sensors. One moment, 12 ships were visible on Dominac's instruments. The next moment, the space appeared empty except for the asteroids and cosmic dust that naturally inhabited the region. "Sensor ghosts?" War Leader Kexton reported. "They're using some form of advanced stealth technology, but we should still be able to detect their gravitational signatures." The first indication that something was wrong came when the Dominac ship Crushing Victory reported that its weapons systems were not responding to commands. Within seconds, similar reports came from half the fleet. Their own technology was being turned against them by signals that seemed to come from empty space. "Hull breach on the Thunder of War," came a panicked transmission. "We're being boarded, but there are no enemy ships in visual range." Captain Chen watched the battle unfold from her command chair, surrounded by tactical displays that showed the Dominac's fleet in complete disarray. "Report from boarding Team Alpha?" Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Stone's voice came through the communication system from inside a Dominac's vessel. "Defiance, this is Stone. We've secured the bridge of the Crushing Victory. Their security systems couldn't detect our insertion pods, and their crew had no idea how to fight in their own corridors." "Understood. Proceed with intelligence gathering." The human boarding tactics were unlike anything galactic military forces had ever encountered. Instead of attempting to destroy enemy ships, human forces captured them intact, studying their technology, while using their own systems against the remaining fleet. War Leader Kexton found himself floating in an escape pod after his flagship was disabled by its own weapons, turned against the ship by human electronic warfare specialists. He managed to transmit a final message before human forces reached his position: "Alert the Galactic Council. The humans don't fight like any species we have encountered. They don't seek to destroy their enemies. They seek to understand them, then use that understanding to achieve victory without massive destruction." The entire battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it ended, the human fleet had captured 23 Dominac's vessels intact, disabled 6 others beyond repair, and allowed 1 ship to escape as a messenger. Not a single human life had been lost. Captain Chen opened a communication channel to the surviving Dominac's commander in his escape pod. "War Leader Kexton, this is Captain Chen of the United Earth Fleet. Your vessels and crews are unharmed. We will return them to you along with a message for your government." "What message?" Kexton asked, his voice carrying the bewilderment of a warrior who had never experienced defeat. "That humanity is ready to discuss mutual defense agreements between equals. We have no desire to conquer your territory or harm your people, but we will defend our territory and our allies with whatever force is necessary." The communication ended, and the human fleet began the systematic study of captured Dominac's technology. Unlike the aliens, who would have spent years analyzing new systems through careful committee review, human engineers and scientists swarmed over the captured vessels and understood their principles within days. Dr. Martinez, now serving as director of Alien Technology Integration, coordinated the research from his mobile command post. The Dominacs use brute force approaches to everything: massive energy expenditure, heavy armor, overwhelming firepower. Effective against species that fight the same way, but vulnerable to asymmetric tactics. "What about their faster-than-light communication systems?" asked Dr. Rodriguez. "Interesting but inefficient. They broadcast on frequencies that travel faster than light but can be intercepted by anyone with the right equipment. We can probably improve on their design by a factor of 10. Meanwhile, the single Dominac ship that had been allowed to escape raced back toward Galactic Council space, carrying news that would shake the foundations of every established civilization. The impossible had happened. A species that had achieved spaceflight less than a century ago had defeated the most powerful military force in the galaxy on Nexus Prime, The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within hours of receiving the battle reports. Elder Kethver stood before an assembly that was no longer filled with laughter or dismissive comments. The holographic displays showed the aftermath of the battle, Dominac's vessels captured intact and human ships that seemed to appear and disappear at will. "The prophecy unfolds exactly as I have foreseen," Kethver announced to the silent chamber. "Look to your long-range sensors. Count the shadows between your worlds." Dr. Vexara of the Synthery Collective activated her cybernetic analysis systems and immediately wished she hadn't. "Council members, I am detecting artificial objects in 17 star systems across the galaxy. The energy signatures are minimal, barely detectable, but the pattern suggests coordinated observation posts." "Impossible," declared High Commander Zelther, though his voice lacked its usual confidence. "No species could deploy across the galaxy so quickly." "The humans didn't deploy across the galaxy," Elder Kethver corrected. "They were already there. While you were debating their primitive nature, they were learning about galactic civilization from the shadows. Every trade route, every military installation, every communication relay has been under human observation for months." Ambassador Klin, who had been rescued from his disabled trading post, provided additional intelligence that chilled the assembly. "They offered us a treaty. Not surrender terms, not demands for tribute. A partnership between equals. They want to learn from us, to incorporate our knowledge and make us all stronger together." 1 year after Ambassador Klin's first visit to Earth, the Galactic Council prepared for what many believed would be their final meeting as an independent governing body. The crystalline halls of Nexus Prime hummed with tension as representatives from 12 species gathered to face an unprecedented situation. The humans had requested a formal audience. President Helen Carter walked through the massive crystal corridors, accompanied by Dr. Martinez, Captain Morrison, and Dr. Hassan. Each of them now carried titles that reflected humanity's rapid integration into galactic affairs. Carter was no longer just President of Earth, but Director of the Human Coordination Network. Dr. Martinez served as Chief Science Coordinator, Captain Morrison as Defense Integration Commander, and Dr. Hassan as Technology Synthesis Director. The human delegation entered the main chamber with confidence that would have seemed impossible just 18 months earlier. They represented not just Earth, but a growing coalition of beings from across the galaxy who had chosen to join humanity's vision of coordinated advancement. "Honored members of the Council," President Carter began. Her words translated simultaneously into 12 different communication methods. "We come before you today not as conquerors or supplicants, but as partners offering a new paradigm for galactic civilization." High Commander Zelther, his forearms restrained by diplomatic protocol despite his obvious discomfort, spoke first. "Your partnership has resulted in the systematic observation of our territories, the recruitment of our populations, and the development of military capabilities that surpass our own. How do you characterize this as anything other than a sophisticated conquest?" Dr. Martinez activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber with statistical data. "In the past year, star systems that have accepted coordination partnerships have experienced an average increase of 43% in economic productivity, a 71% decrease in intersystem conflicts, and a 97% improvement in technological innovation rates. You absorb our knowledge and improve upon it at rates that should be impossible," accused Dr. Vexara, her cybernetic implants sparking with agitation. "Your species demonstrates learning capabilities that exceed our understanding of information processing." "That's exactly the point," Captain Morrison replied calmly. "Humans don't just learn from other species. We synthesize that knowledge with perspectives from dozens of different civilizations to create entirely new solutions. We make everyone stronger by connecting everyone together." Elder Kethver stepped forward, his ancient form moving slowly but purposefully. "I have prepared a comprehensive analysis of the changes your species has brought to our galaxy." He activated a crystalline data storage device that projected a galaxy-wide Overview showing the spread of human influence, instead of the traditional map showing separate species controlling isolated territories. The display revealed an interconnected network of star systems where human coordination had facilitated unprecedented cooperation between previously incompatible civilizations. In the outer rim sectors, Kethver explained, humans established communication protocols between the silicon-based crystallites and the gas giant dwelling void swimmers. These species had never successfully interacted before human translation. Algorithms bridged their completely different conceptual frameworks. The data continued its demonstration of human impact. The border wars that had raged for 4 centuries between the Mercanti Federation and the Synthri Collective ended within 8 months of human mediation. Not through military intervention, but through the development of hybrid technologies that serve both species' needs more effectively than their original designs. Ambassador Klin leaned forward with obvious interest. Our profit margins in human-coordinated systems have increased by factors we considered theoretically impossible. They don't simply facilitate trade between species. They optimize entire economic networks across multiple civilizations simultaneously. President Carter recognized the shift in the chamber's atmosphere and pressed her advantage. What we're proposing isn't human dominance over galactic civilization. We're proposing human coordination of galactic civilization. Every species maintains complete sovereignty over their territories, cultures, and internal affairs, but we work together to solve challenges that no single species could address alone. Dr. Hassan presented the next phase of the proposal. Consider the galaxy's greatest challenges: resource depletion in the core systems, exploration of unknown regions, preparation for contact with extragalactic civilizations. These require coordinated efforts across hundreds of species, each contributing their unique capabilities toward common goals. The council members engaged in various forms of communication, creating a complex symphony of sounds, lights, and mental emanations throughout the chamber. The data was undeniable. Systems that had accepted human coordination were thriving in ways that isolated development had never achieved. I have one final vision to share, Elder Kethver announced, raising an ancient appendage for attention. A possible future I have observed in my meditations. The chamber fell silent as the old seer activated his precognitive display. The hologram showed the galaxy as viewed from an external perspective, but not as a collection of separate civilizations. Instead, it appeared as a single, coordinated entity. Ships moved between systems with perfect efficiency, carrying goods, knowledge, and cultural exchanges. At the edges of galactic space, massive construction projects reached toward the intergalactic void. This is what humanity offers, Kethver concluded. Not the absorption of our individual species into theirs, but the elevation of all our civilizations into something greater than any of us could achieve independently. High Commander Zelther was the first to break the contemplative silence. If we agree to this coordination network, what guarantees do we have that humanity won't eventually seek dominance rather than partnership? Captain Morrison stood, his bearing reflecting both military discipline and diplomatic training. The same guarantee that protects any alliance: mutual benefit and shared vulnerability. Human coordination succeeds because we need what each species contributes to the network. Our strength comes from connecting civilizations, not replacing them. We've seen what happens when species try to dominate rather than coordinate, Dr. Martinez added. The historical records show dozens of failed galactic empires. They all made the same mistake, trying to impose uniformity instead of celebrating diversity. The debate continued for hours, but the outcome was increasingly clear. The data was overwhelming, the benefits were obvious, and the alternative was isolation in a galaxy that was rapidly moving beyond traditional boundaries. The final vote wasn't unanimous, but it was decisive. 8 of the 12 species voted to join the Human Coordination Network immediately. 3 chose gradual integration over a trial period. Only the militant Dominax chose to maintain complete independence, though even they agreed to limited cooperation. Agreements. As the council session ended, Elder Kethver approached President Carter privately. You understand, the ancient seer said, that this is merely the beginning. The darkness I saw in my original visions extended far beyond this galaxy. The coordination you're building here will be needed for challenges that none of us yet comprehend. President. Carter nodded, gazing through the crystal walls at the starfield beyond. Humanity has always performed best when facing impossible odds. Now we won't have to face them alone. 6 months after the Council vote, the first intergalactic exploration vessel launched from shipyards that represented the combined efforts of 19 different species. The ship itself was a marvel of coordinated engineering, incorporating the best technologies and ideas from across the galaxy. Captain Sarah Martinez, daughter of Dr. Martinez and a graduate of the new Interstellar Command Academy, stood on the bridge of the UES Unity as it prepared for humanity's most ambitious mission yet. The ship's crew included representatives from dozens of species, all working together toward a common goal. Final systems check, Captain Martinez announced. All departments report readiness for intergalactic transition. The Unity's mission was to make contact with the Andromeda Galaxy and determine whether the coordination principles that had revolutionized their own galaxy could be extended across the universe. They carried with them not just advanced technology, but something that had never before existed, a truly unified perspective on what intelligent life could accomplish through cooperation. Behind them, their galaxy continued its transformation. The sky was indeed black with ships, but they represented every species in the galactic community working together. Human vessels worked alongside mercanti traders, synthery research ships, crystallite explorers, and dozens of other species. Contributions to the network. The darkness Elder Kethver had prophesied wasn't the shadow of conquest or destruction. It was the productive darkness of a civilization that had learned to work together, reaching toward challenges that span not just star systems, but entire galaxies. As the Unity engaged its intergalactic drive and disappeared into the void. Between galaxies, observers across the galaxy watched with hope and anticipation. The aliens had indeed warned of one species that would change everything. They had laughed.